nodes representing different states. So in this example, I'm using weather across time and transition probabilities between states. So given that today is rainy, what's the probability that tomorrow is sunny? And an important characteristic of Markov chains is that it's memoryless. So if I know so the weather tomorrow only depends on the weather today, not on the weather yesterday or a month ago or a year ago. So if I formalize weather across time using this Markov chain, I guess a question for the class is whether you think this is an appropriate assumption to make. And if you are having questions about that, maybe consider the following alternative or other scenarios that you could use Markov chains to model. For example, modeling an engine system. Sorry, just two seconds. Modeling a tennis game, or modeling life. So that's the end of my presentation.
Great. Okay. Good. All right, Michael, do you want to make a few comments?
Yeah. I really liked the first slide. I thought you did a good job of having illustrations that kind of spell it out in an easy way, which even if you weren't reading the text, you could understand. I said maybe on this one that you could have things pop up as you talk about them. So maybe you have the top half of the slide up and then have the bottom half, because it can get distracted. And then I like the last one, trying to model life. It's a hard problem.
I have to study your weights on that one. No, this is great. And Emma, I really liked it too. It was very clean. You conveyed that what was the important aspect of it is that the Markov property, that it depends only on the current state. I really like these other examples that you really nicely showed that it has really broad applicability. And that is really helpful too. And that's, again, I think it sort of reverses the other suggestion I had to the others, which was about talk about the application first. But you did it the other way, which worked in this case. You told us about something kind of technical, and then you told us, well, wait a second, this applies in all kinds of places. So, and you made it work. And also, I really like that you ended with a little sparkle, a little laugh. That's valuable. People care about that, and for everybody's benefit. Okay, Emma, you can unshare now. That was great.
Yeah.
For everyone's benefit, I just have to tell you, two of my students presented this talk on untangling knots, and it turned out that one of them was the first algorithm I came up with was hierarchical untangling of something. Anyway, we ended up spelling Hulk, Hulk. And so that was the title. And then we had another algorithm that was relevant to that as well. And we were trying to figure out what to name it. And one of the students said, we'll call it Bruce. And if you're a fan of the movie or the comic book, Bruce is the guy who turns into the Hulk, right? And we made up an acronym that was kind of, what we call a hackronym to sort of patch together to make it work. And then they presented this talk, and they never said anything about Hulk or Bruce. It was just they had a tiny little logo in the corner of one slide with the Hulk picture in it from the cartoon. Anyway, it turned out that it got huge response, and on Twitter, people started saying this was the best acronym of the conference, and so they really got, and it was really nice because I think what it was is that they just inserted a little bit of humor, and they didn't really allude to it or make a big deal out of it, but they kind of let it be kind of this running joke throughout their talk, and it was just great because it made everybody relax, and it was a big hit. So don't be afraid of doing that, I guess, is my advice. It's totally fine. The world needs a little bit more of that, in my opinion. So don't hold back. If you want to throw a little bit of humor, don't overdo it. You don't want to turn it into a comedy act, although maybe that could work. All right. So listen, I see that we have some people who haven't presented yet, but they haven't really, sounds like they don't have a burning desire to. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to let I'll look at the presentations that you submitted, the one-page presentations. And now let's go back. What I'm going to do is I'll share my screen because I wanted to just talk really quickly about the course itself. So, and here again, just unmute if you want to share something with me. Here, I'm going to share. And share this here. Okay, can you see the this pro seminar here? View full screen. Okay, there we go. All right, can you guys see that? I can't
Yep.
see you anymore. So okay.
Can you zoom in a little?
Yes.
Hard to see.
Sure. Let me see. Takes a second to do that. And participants. Oh, I saw someone ask a question, when you get the student evaluations, and the answer to that is usually like in mid-January, quite a long time after the course is over, unfortunately. And it's because they don't want there to be any, any interaction between the evaluations and the grades. So they wait till all grades are all final and out, and then usually another 2 or 3 weeks for good measure, and then they give you your evaluations. And you might not even get a notification. You just have to kind of set it your own trigger to go back in and look at those. So they're always enlightening. And my other advice is brace yourself, because you'll inevitably get a few really irritated comments, and don't take them personally. Okay, it's just, it always happens, right? So so try not to get upset about them, but generally it is good to still be broken down into all these categories, and you'll learn a lot about what you did right and what you didn't, what you could improve. Let's put it that way. All right, so let me just ask everybody while you're here, what about the this format? We put a lot of the material right here on the syllabus page, and I use it as a running source to post links and give updates and everything else. Did that work pretty well for you overall? Was it just nice to be able to go in here and just pull up information and see what was coming up or what the assignments were?
Definitely, that was super useful. It also helped sort of think ahead to future assignments. The
Good.
links in the B courses modules as well were helpful, to sort of have everything in front of you when you're doing the assignment, and to do it really efficiently. But having this on a Google Doc was great for updates, definitely, especially when things were changing.
Great. Okay, thanks. Yeah, because one of the things that often happens is that you do change a little bit. We had that 1 week where we decided to cancel class, and I think what happens is that it's nice to be able to move things around on the fly, and then you guys can see what's going on. And as you said, you can also plan ahead. Let me ask about this. So we obviously we use Zoom. We were recording the lectures. How many of you found that to be useful or not useful? I'm just curious, because I was actually pretty impressed by how many people did come to lectures in live time and how much participation there was. But anybody want to say anything about that? I mean, obviously it's been affected by COVID, but
what is the question?
the question is, how much did Zoom having? I guess my question is, the recordings, being able to access it later, was that helpful?
I don't do that.
Right.
So I have no comment.
Okay. So it's a little different than a lecture course where you have, these assignments where you actually have to go in and try and learn some very specific material, right? And I think that's where the recordings were particularly helpful. And I don't think here there was that much benefit from going back, although I'm just curious if anyone did go back and listen to lectures after the fact, if you missed one or if you used that feature.
I did want to say, in some of the assignments where we needed to reference discussions from class, I think there was one that going back was helpful.
Okay.
To discussions.
Okay.
I think probably for the final paper, if I end up using some of the discussions in class, it might be helpful. Still not sure yet, but it's something that I've been considering doing if needed.
Okay, good, great. So you can go back later. All right, so now, and also I want to ask here, I know that, let's see, does anybody plan on taking the certificate, on getting the certificate in teaching and learning?
Oh, I applied for that. I attended the workshops this semester.
What is that?
It's here on the syllabus, but you can get a certificate that basically goes into your record. And if you are planning to go and teach, then it's a nice feather in your cap. And it requires some more work in addition to this class, but this class being one of the parts of it. I think there's also like later they do some more of these workshops, and then you also do a teaching evaluation with the GSI Center to get that. So everybody,
there's also the GSI a teaching conference that's in January. That's a requirement. So signing up for that is if anybody's interested. They just opened that like a couple weeks ago.
oh, great. Thank you. So if you're interested in that, and by the way, there's only certain 375 classes that are eligible for counting, and this one is eligible. So we got that approval. So you can, now that you finished it, you're all eligible to take this extra, to get this extra credit. So go ahead and click on that on the syllabus if you're curious. Let's see, how about this textbook? How was the general feeling about the text? Was it helpful to have that? I know we found some issues with the text. And by the way, you could put comments in the chat too, because I'm looking over at that.
I did think the textbook was helpful. Like, although there were issues with some of the things that we flagged during the semester, I thought that having the textbook as like a starting point to look at how literature sort of frames a lot of these topics and to look for more references, especially for the final paper where we need to have a certain number of references. Yeah, that's sort of that's like it's a good starting point for discussions and a good place to find references.
Okay, good. I was pretty happy with it because first of all, that it's available for free online was great. I was really delighted to see that because I don't want you to have to buy an expensive textbook, but it is relevant. I think it's a little bit out of date, but it was nice to have kind of another companion source to talk about things that were parallel with a lot of the topics that we talked about. Preston, it's all free if you know where to look, but we gave you the link too in the oh, you're saying it's all free. Oh, well, that's a different topic. All right, course objectives and outcomes. All right, hopefully that was clear to you, and if you just look back on these things, I hope that you feel we covered them adequately. We just got through, we spent a fair amount of time on classroom presentation, and I tried to respond to your concerns that, some of you were not planning to teach and, were sort of concerned that why are you even here? It was just being forced on you as a requirement. And so we pivoted a little bit to say, this is a class that really a lot of what we're covering is relevant to anything you do. And in almost every job, there's elements of this class. And so we could revise these goals to say really that they're relevant to not only being a GSI or a teacher, but to being a manager or being part of a research team and many other things. Okay, grading. Okay, so I want you to take a quick look at this. One of your classmates had the sharp eye to do a little computation here and realize that if you attended all the classes and did all the homeworks, then you are basically above threshold to pass this course. And since it's a pass-fail class, you don't have to do the essay, the final essay. So I have to say, I still hope you do the final essay. You'll hit it out of the ballpark, but it's fair to note that. So I've been extremely happy with the participation in class and the engagement. You guys have really done all these homeworks, and so I feel really comfortable. If you feel that you've done the homeworks and the attendance, then I'm going to tell you right now that the final essay is going to be optional for you. Okay.
Are the grades updated so we can make that determination today?
Yes, they are. Well, the one thing that's actually a little bit we actually are working on is the attendance, but I think you can assume that that's going to be where it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
Easy.
yeah. Someone just asked. Okay, yes. So I know you guys are doing that calculation. So I don't blame you. You got a lot on your plate. So the final essay may be optional for most of you. And let's see. Honor code. We covered this in some detail. I hope you liked the diversity, equity, inclusion policy that we included in this class that I worked on, and you know, in terms of accommodations, and also for just psychological services. There are a lot of elements of sources here, even down to a food bank, food pantry, which I wanted to give you a, someone's typing a little bit. Can you?
My apologies.
All right, thank you. But I wanted you to get a sense of where you could go for other resources. And so hopefully that was valuable. And then let's see, there was a pre-course survey that we did, and we had some information before you even got there, even a first little assignment. Then we went through the, you know, we did a little icebreakers, and we talked about the, this was when we were really just getting used to Zoom, or at least I was, and we were playing around with that. We did the breakout rooms where you got to introduce someone else in the class. I think that went really well. You guys did a great job. I think that was, how do you feel about that? Was that helpful for you to sort of, in a sense, really be an icebreaker in the sense of that you could feel comfortable speaking up in class? Because it actually gave everybody the chance to speak in the first week.
I think it was a good strategy for any online Zoom course, because it's really hard to like talk to somebody semi one-on-one and like know anybody in the class. Like you can't like walk in early and like, oh, what's up?
Right. Good. Yeah. And I thought it was really nice, because I also find that if you get into a class and you just sort of, you know, in Zoom, it's very easy not to raise your hand because nobody, you know, you can just hang back. And I think if you do that for 2 or 3 class sessions, then you might just never raise your hand. And so I wanted this to be a way for people to sort of, you know, break that barrier. And I think it works pretty well because there was a lot of participation. Okay, so then we have the homeworks, and I know the homeworks were a little bit heavy for a class like this, a pass-fail class, but I really appreciate that you guys took the time to put into them, because I thought I wanted to see you, you know, spend a little time outside of class thinking back about the elements, and you did a great job with that. You know, with preparing the chalkboard lectures that you all did without any slides, you did a great job with that. I think that hopefully that was a good learning experience. We all went through a lot of examples there. We also saw some videos. You guys told me that you didn't want to watch videos in the class, which I really appreciate and respect. Let's see, we did the course evaluations, the learning styles. I hope that was helpful for you. It certainly, I find that to be really helpful in general, to think about the idea that people really learn in different ways, and everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses. And we actually were able to use this nice tool to see how we stood, and then plot out, if you remember those bar graphs, about our different our learning styles. And I thought there was some correlation, and then someone, I remember, said, well, I'm an example, they're decorrelated, 2 of the things on that on the index. So it's really interesting, and I think I'm going to try to I'd love to incorporate that in other classes too. One of the things I still want to put out there, if anybody wants to do an extra credit in this class, would be to write up a little, do a version of that where it would be collective. So everybody would answer it, they'd get their results, but then I would get a collective response from everyone. So I could see mean and standard deviation for all the different dimensions. It'd be really helpful. And okay, so then we talked about this. We had this great guest lecturer, Linda Von On. She talks about the transferable skills. That I think is a hugely winning lecture. She really drives home this point that this is relevant to so many other things that you do in your life. and we talked about the the um, the, the digital resources, a little bit about B-Courses, Piazza. We did then the class observation. That's where we did it in class or on Zoom. We spent a little time on homeworks and rubrics and exams. And then time management. I hope that was helpful for you in talking about how to manage your time, both as a grad student in general and in terms of being course instructor. Then we got into diversity, equity, and inclusion. I felt those were really interesting discussions and somewhat timely. And I felt we had both of this week and the week after went on for almost 2 hours, and there was really lots of discussion there. And I thought it was very helpful. I hope it was for you. Then we talked about diversity statements and some of the aspects about gender, microaggressions, and then we got into giving talks and using slides, and then we went back into the presentation mode where everybody gave talks, and that pretty much brings us back to where we are now, the end of the class. So I just want to also mention there's one thing on here which is the gold folder, which is how to respond to students in distress. I want you to just know that's there. And if you're ever a GSI and or even yourself, you can click on that. There's a lot of materials that's very, very helpful. Also campus resources for crisis. And let me just go to this gold folder for you for a second. So this has a whole bunch of resources about when things could go wrong, and here is all the phone numbers and quick suggestions about if you have somebody in a class that's really facing a crisis. So we didn't get to talk about this, but I just want you to know it's here, and that this is really worth clicking through and just taking a look at, okay, about how you handle situations that might come up. All right, I'm going to stop the screen now, stop the share. And with that, any other thoughts? I like what Michael said here. It feels like I met more people in this course because of than in-person classes. That's nice to hear. Great. Yeah, I saw there was a lot of really nice interactions that went on. People seemed to connect to each other after we all signed off. And many people would stick around afterward and sort of shoot the breeze a little bit. So I really like that. You guys were great. I have to say, I really enjoyed. I have to say, I look forward to this class every week, and you made it fun. So thank you for that experience. So we're done. And again, if you did the homeworks and we're here, you're done. All right, you're
Awesome.
passed. Okay. So don't worry about the last essay. If you put a little time into it, great. Submit it to me. I appreciate it. I'm really curious to see what you come up with. It won't be wasted effort. And listen, I wish you all the best. Take care, and please drop a line to me somewhere down the road if something that in this class was ever useful. And if you have any suggestions offline that you want to share with me privately, please do so. I'm always looking for new ways to improve and make this better for next year. Okay?
Yeah. Hey, Ken, what do you think you could improve on?
Everything.
Everything. That's not an answer. That's not smart. That's not a smart goal. You know that.
No, it is. I mean, I think I can improve on a lot of aspects. I think that the area that I'm always trying to do is how do I engage with the students who are less engaged? That is always my challenge.
Hard.
And I go back and forth because, like, even today I was looking over the list and I was thinking there's a few people who really hadn't spoke up, and I debate, can I go in and call on them? And
Right,
I know a lot of people
like
really don't
them.
like. Yeah, and people really don't like that. But in my mind, I'm like, I also feel like it's hard to go through a whole semester and hardly say anything. So so I'm trying to give them. So that's one area, and I think in general that trying to manage all this material in the amount of time we have is a challenge. It feels like this could be easily another semester. of things, because I love the idea of talking to you about, career planning and all kinds of other aspects. So maybe it's a sign of getting
Okay.
old. I'm getting in the mood where I like to give advice. But anyway, but listen, you guys, I appreciate it. If you please share with me, I really am sincere in that. I'm open to advice and suggestions, because I just want to make this a better experience for everyone next year. All
Okay.
right. Thanks, everyone. You've been great.
All right. Have a good one.
Good luck with everything. Yes. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye,
This has
everyone.
been a course.
Have a good one.
Ken,
Yeah.
can I talk to you off the recording for a couple minutes?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I have to end the recording. There we go.